Welcome to the Tristan Law Show. If it's your first time here, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Tristan Law. Today we are going to be exploring whether AEW can take Shelton Benjamin to heights that WWE never did. After Shelton Benjamin's recent release from the WWE, an impressive, might I add, AEW debut, is this Shelton Benjamin's moment to shine? I guess we're going to have to wait and see. But we're going to dive into his current run. We're going to look at MVP's role and the potential formation of a new dominant faction within AEW. So make sure that you stick around to see how AEW might unlock Shelton Benjamin's true potential. So Shelton Benjamin joins AEW. Someone like Shelton Benjamin, he had the pick of the litter, but he chose AEW. Shelton Benjamin appeared on Gabby Laspisa's Gabby AF podcast, and here's what Shelton Benjamin had to say about joining AEW. He said, MLW was very interested. I was doing a lot of international things and exploring other options in and out of pro wrestling. Impact TNA was a very tempting place to go. What it boils down to is he wants the biggest possible audience outside of the WWE, and there's no place bigger than AEW. He doesn't have as much time as a lot of guys as far as in-ring time. Not that he's going to retire anytime soon, but for the time that he has left, he wants to reach the most available people as possible. And what better place than AEW? There's no better place. And I agree that there's no better place for Shelton Benjamin if you're looking for the most important place to finish your career or put a mark or stamp on your career other than AEW right now. They are the number 2 company in the United States, in the world, might I add. And because they have such a big following behind the WWE, it's a good place for Shelton Benjamin to go. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this if you like what I'm doing. I know we haven't really done much yet, but we're definitely going to get into a lot more. You know, wrestlers can get a piece of the house depending on who they are, meaning that, you know, some of the ticket sales, they'll be able to take some of the money of the ticket sales as well, too. They'll be able to negotiate a percentage within their contract. And because Shelton Benjamin goes to a place like AEW that has a much bigger fan base, much more bigger ticket sales than Impact Wrestling, NWA, New Japan Pro Wrestling, he'd be able to obviously make more money. At the end of the day, one of the things that I always say about pro wrestling is that it's a business. It's the pro wrestling business. And if you're in pro wrestling not to make money, you are definitely in the wrong business. WCW closing and WWE going PG, it alienated a lot of fans who stopped watching pro wrestling. When AEW opened up for business, it gave a lot of those alienated fans who were searching for something different than WWE, AEW. And it's going to be almost a brand new audience for Shelton Benjamin to wrestle in AEW. And I mean, it's almost brand new. Like, yeah, of course, there are people that watch AEW that watch WWE and vice versa. Like, I just started watching AEW religiously. That's why I was able to have this topic that I could present to you, because I talk a lot about the WWE. But there are people that solely just watch AEW and they don't care about what happens in the WWE. And it's vice versa as well, too. Because I was one of those people that, you know, I really don't care what happens in AEW. You know, I'll read about it, but I'm not really too, like, into the storylines and stuff like that. So I chose to start watching after the last AEW pay-per-view 2 weeks ago, and now I'm just getting into the groove of who's who. With Shelton Benjamin going to AEW, the potential for him in AEW is so much more higher than it was in WWE. I'll explain a little bit. So I want to say this. Shelton Benjamin is one heck of a wrestler. He is a stud. He's a stallion. He's a top dog when it comes to the actual wrestling in the ring. I think the only thing that falls short with Shelton Benjamin is that he's not a microphone guy. He's not a promo guy, right? He looks great in the ring. He wrestles great. He tells great stories. But when it comes to putting the whole entire package together. I'm not saying he's terrible, because if he's terrible, he wouldn't be where he is. But he's in the same exact places like Brock Lesnar. And Brock Lesnar just needed that hype man, that man in the microphone, and that's where Paul Heyman came in for Brock Lesnar. But now Shelton Benjamin has MVP, and that MVP is going to be able to do all the talking, and which is going to help bring Shelton Benjamin into places that the WWE couldn't really bring him. Right? You know, like in Shelton Benjamin's entire pro wrestling career, he's been a singles guy. He started off as a tag, but he's never been a main event wrestler. Does he have the wrestling skills to be a main event wrestler? 1,000 million trillion percent yes. But the only thing that he's missing is the mic skills. Looking at some of Shelton Benjamin's first couple matches in AEW, he's only had 2 matches as of the recording, as of the time that we're sitting down right here. And he wrestled Sammy Guevara and Leo Rush. Leo Rush was his first match. And these matches were like a coming out statement for Shelton Benjamin. They let everybody know, that everybody that was watching, and these people that Shelton Benjamin were wrestling, and I would say they were probably between 25 and 30, 35. Shelton Benjamin's a 50-plus-year-old man. And he's able to go with people that are half his age. And that was the coming out statement, because he was trying to say in that match, at least what it said to me, is that it doesn't matter how old these people are, okay? Because I'm going to come out here and show you that I belong. And because Shelton Benjamin, came out and he wrestled such good matches, I think it did something for the star power of Sammy Guevara and Leo Rush. Those matches were like an appetizer for the fans. It let you know, what you think you knew about Shelton Benjamin wasn't what you really knew. Because, in AEW is a lot different from the WWE for many different reasons that we can make a whole entire separate episode onto why it's a lot different. But the thing is that Shelton Benjamin is now wrestling in a place where a lot of the homegrown talent, they don't have that many reps underneath their belt, and Shelton Benjamin comes in as a top dog, a stallion, a stud, a top star. And for him to be able to wrestle with those people, it's going to make him better. One of the things that I always said about being a pro wrestler is that when I wrestled with somebody who was better than me, it always made me better in the ring. Coming up at the next episode of AEW Dynamite, though, Shelton Benjamin is going to be wrestling Swerve Scott. Let me tell you why I feel like this is a very important match for Shelton Benjamin. It's a very important match for Shelton Benjamin because when he wins, if he hangs, which I don't think he's going to hang. I think he's going to win. When Shelton Benjamin wins that match, it's going to show that he belongs in the main event picture because Swerve is a former AEW champion. If Swerve hangs, he's going to be able to get the respect of Shelton Benjamin. I could see something like a handshake in the ring as well too. If Shelton Benjamin beats the AEW champion once removed in Swerve Strickland, he is a contender. He belongs in the main event picture, but just not yet. Not yet. Because you don't want too many big names in the big picture. It's too WCW and early TNA. And that's the big mistake that those companies made by propelling Shelton Benjamin into the main event picture that they would make by propelling him into the picture so early. If you like what I'm doing here, please subscribe. Subscribing is one of the best compliments that you can give me. It makes me feel that I'm doing a great job and it helps me grow the channel. And as the channel grows, a lot of cool things are going to happen. It's my dream to talk on a microphone. So for you to sit here, whether you're watching this live or in demand, you're making my dream come true. So I said that I didn't think that Shelton Benjamin should be in the main event picture so quick. And the reason why I feel that way is because the slow burn to Shelton Benjamin's AEW championship run is going to be all the better. Shelton Benjamin has wrestled for New Japan. He's wrestled for WWE and many other companies, and he's never been a main event star. He's never been their world champion. Shelton Benjamin has never been the world champion for any mainstream American pro wrestling company, even Japanese. Never. And I think by him coming into AEW, the slow burn works best for him because it gives the main eventers right now in AEW time to cycle out the new wrestlers and give him time to cycle in. Shelton Benjamin will benefit from the slow burn because it would make it feel like he's not being forced down people's throat. And let me tell you, nobody likes anything forced down their throat. It would make it feel as if Shelton Benjamin belongs there in that main event picture with the slow burn rather than just putting him in the main event picture. Looking at things that WCW and TNA did wrong, TNA's biggest mistake was taking a page out of WCW's book. And what that mistake was not building on new talent and focusing on the current names and the new names that they have. And they would focus on the big names like Shelton Benjamin, Hulk Hogan, and other big names like that because they already have that yielded star power. And that star power equals money. And at the end of the day, pro wrestling is all about one thing. Yeah, it's about entertaining the fans, but as a business point of view, it's about money. It's all about money. If you're not making money, you don't even deserve to be in the conversation. Can Shelton Benjamin be there? Yes. Can Shelton Benjamin had been propelled to the main event picture and then just win the AEW championship next week? Of course he could have. But how would it feel and what would it have done for Shelton Benjamin? It would have just been like, all right, you know what? You got this box that you want to check off. Let me go ahead and just give you this belt so you can just have that. AEW did that same exact thing in the beginning. However, they did have a good mix of homegrown talent in AEW with big names. They needed somebody like Chris Jericho to help spearhead AEW because you wanted that name and face recognition. That any of those fans that stopped watching wrestling years ago, that when they change the channel and they see Chris Jericho on the television, they go, oh, that Chris Jericho guy still wrestles? Hey, wait, that's not WWE. Let me go ahead and watch. So that's one of the things that I want to say that AEW definitely got right. Right, but somebody like TNA, oh my God, TNA. I remember going to TNA as a younger adult. I was like 19, 20, going to TNA, and every single time I wanted AJ Styles to win. Right, AJ Styles wasn't a big name, but he was one of the best wrestlers that they had on the roster that wasn't a big name. Jeff Jarrett was the champion, and every single month you'd come in and you'd see Jeff Jarrett beat somebody. He'd beat people like Jeff Hardy. And Jeff Hardy, you didn't really want to see Jeff Hardy be the champion. You wanted something like AJ Styles because he was a homegrown talent. He was there from the beginning. Like I said, AJ Styles is a homegrown talent in TNA, and he never got his fair shake. And that's probably one of the reasons why he eventually left for WWE and is now rightfully the star that he can be. Looking back at Shelton Benjamin and going for the AEW championship currently, I don't see Shelton Benjamin being projected into main event status and going against Moxley. Why? Because Moxley has his own separate storyline, and if Shelton comes for Moxley, Shelton better come with some help because he's going to need it. He's going to need a lot more than MVP. The other thing I look at as well too is heel versus heel matches. They don't work. Heel versus heel matches don't work, but they can work. They don't really work because now it's forcing the fan to choose. It's like, all right, well, who do you hate more? Who do you hate less? And that's where the conundrum kind of comes in because you really don't like both guys. And then it forces you to choose. Babyface versus babyface, you can do that if they're doing like a best of 7 series or, they're trying to go for the number 1 contendership. Something like that works because you like both guys, right? But there's always one guy that you like less. But when it comes to heel versus heel, you're making people choose like, all right, well, do I really hate this guy a lot less? I don't know. But now if Sheldon is a well-defined babyface and stays far away from Moxley, it can work. Why? Because nobody's expecting it. Shelton is off in his own plan. I keep saying Sheldon. Sheldon's my brother. Shelton is doing his own exact thing, separately from Jon Moxley. You don't even realize that the two are in the same exact universe until it's time. But now there's a rumor. There's a rumor that Bobby Lashley is supposed to join AEW and it was halted. I'm not sure how true it is, but it might clash with Shelton being a main event star. Let's talk about that for a little bit. In case you don't know, Shelton Benjamin was in a group in the WWE called The Hurt Business with MVP, who's currently in the corner of Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley. Lashley, however, can come in later on after Shelton has established himself as a main event player, but then I don't see a clash. You don't want it to clash because Shelton Benjamin's out there trying to make a name for himself, and then you already got a guy that's almost like bigger star power than him trying to come in. It's like, there's a probably we expect them to be on the same team, and we don't want too much of a clash between the two. However, Bobby Lashley coming to AEW to join Shelton could turn Shelton an MVP babyface if they're not already babyface because the fans would be excited. They'd be more excited because you now get a chance to see what the WWE didn't get to do with this group, and now what AEW is going to do with the group. The thing about pro wrestling, it's all about toys, right? It's all about toys. It's all about one man's garbage is another man's treasure, right? And if you can find, like, for example, somebody like Triple H, right? Triple H was garbage to WCW, and look who the hell Triple H became. Look at Stone Cold Steve Austin. Stone Cold Steve Austin was WCW's garbage, and then he went to WWE, and look who he became. There's so many different names out there that you can just keep naming and naming and naming and naming and naming that it's like, you know what, there was somebody else's garbage, and now look at what they are now. I wouldn't say that Shelton was someone that would be somebody's garbage, but he's probably somebody's toy because they did good with Shelton. Shelton's still decorated within the WWE. But the thing with Shelton, though, is that he just never got his fair shake in a lot of the fans of the eyes. Let me know what you think in the comments. And now with Shelton Benjamin being in AEW, I think he's going to get that chance that he's finally been looking for. So now everybody's talking about, you know, the old hurt business in the WWE reuniting in AEW, at least a part of it, 2/3 of it at least. And I just want to say this to start. I looked it up myself just to make sure. The Hurt Business is still currently a trademark name by the WWE, so they could not be that. However, the name that I do see them using is the Beatdown Clan. The Beatdown Clan was a name that they used in TNA about 10 years ago. It was a group of Bobby Lashley and MVP. Now with MVP, you know, being in the corner of Shelton Benjamin, and now with potentially Bobby Lashley coming in, look, the Hurt Business is closed for business, but the Beatdown Clan, they're back and they're ready to beat people up. I see the Beatdown Clan resembling the Hurt Business when it comes in characters, but the name, I see the name, like I said, will be totally different. It'll be the Beatdown Clan. I see them recruiting wrestlers, though, who were once in WWE and now in AEW, and to stay in theme with the Beatdown Clan and Hurt Down Business, it's probably going to be black wrestlers, probably going to be African-American wrestlers, but it's okay. If you're watching this and you're not African-American, it's okay. You can say black. That's okay, right? You're going to see black wrestlers. MVP has been giving out to his business cards to other black wrestlers such as Mercedes Moné, Ricochet. I even seen him, I see him in the future recruiting Swerve Strickland, Leo Rush, maybe, and maybe a stretch Keith Lee if he's coming back anytime soon. Mercedes Moné, Ricochet, Swerve Strickland, Leo Rush, and Shelton Benjamin and Lashley. Oh my God, they would be a force to be reckoned with in AEW. But now when they become that force, now who would they probably have beef with? Only people I see right now is the Blackpool Combat Club. There is a possible feud that is there. The Blackpool Combat Club is extremely violent. It's led by Jon Moxley. And the Beatdown Clan will just be a bunch of seasoned veterans in wrestling who it would set a really good contrast, right? They'd be the yin to each other's yang. There is a seasoned veteran in the Blackpool Combat Club in Jon Moxley. But now the Beatdown Clan, with the people that I predicted, that I made up, that I just said, they would actually be veterans. They'd be the ring generals. They'd be the people that know their way around the four posts of the ring, and you would expect them to be the better wrestlers and the more vicious. If this was a video game, they would definitely have more hit points, I guess I would say. The main story between the groups, though, is that they would definitely fight for dominance in AEW between the Beatdown Clan and the Blackpool Combat Club. They would be able to coexist in the same exact swimming pool until one person crosses another person's turf. What I see happening is there could be a small interactions between the Beatdown Clan and the Blackpool Combat Club, and they would start by crossing turf, but then, you know what, they would eventually agree, you know what, there's enough food here for us all to eat together. How about you stay on your side and we stay on our side? And everybody would be like, you know what, all right, good deal. They'll shake on it and move on. But then something can happen later on down the line to where it would blow up because somebody would cross over a line and then they would have to fight for dominance because, like, you know what? We told you and we both agreed there's enough food on both sides of the table. But now because you crossed the line, you try to take a little bit off my plate and you're going to keep trying to take a little bit more and more and more and more. I'm going to have to remove you and I'm going to have to eat your food. Look, I think that Shelton Benjamin is making waves in AEW, and it's going to be clear he chose this company for all the right reasons. After considering other options like Impact and MLW, Shelton Benjamin recognized that AEW has the platform and the audience he needs to finish his career strong. He's not here to waste time. He's here to make his mark. And with AEW's bigger audience and financial opportunities, Shelton Benjamin will be able to reach the heights that WWE never offered him. In his recent matches against Lio Rush and Sammy Guevara, it showed us the caliber of talent that Shelton Benjamin brings. Up next, he faces Swerve Strickland, a former AEW champion, must I add. If Shelton Benjamin wins, it will only solidify him as a future main event contender, but instead of rushing to the top, AEW hopefully will be smart enough to give Shelton a slow build, allowing him to prove he belongs without overcrowding the main event, a mistake that both WCW and TNA made. And then, there's the possibility of a faction. Rumor has it that Bobby Lashley could be joining Shelton and MVP in AEW, creating a powerhouse stable that would be reminiscent of the Hurt Business. This potential faction could bring in talents like Swerve Strickland, Lio Rush, wrestlers who didn't also get their fair chance in the WWE. The rivalry with the Blackpool Combat Club could even be a battle over who truly runs AEW, sparking a clash of dominance. Ultimately, AEW just isn't a place for Shelton to shine. Shelton and his faction could elevate AEW to new heights, bringing in energy, storylines, and the authenticity that fans crave. And this is why I think that Shelton Benjamin will take AEW to the next level, and AEW will take him to the next level. Thanks so much for joining me here on the Tristan Law Show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment. I'll be back next week on Tuesday at noon, live here on YouTube for another episode of the Tristan Law Show. Oh, and did I mention that we're going to have a lot of shows next week? We're going to be able to have an interview next week. We're going to have another discussion, and I'm going to get you ready for WWE PLE this next coming weekend. So you don't want to miss it. It's going to be WWE Crown Jewel. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. I'm Tristan Law. Hey, share this with somebody. Thanks so much for hanging out. And you know what? I'll see you next time. Thanks.